Welcome to the Vigorous Q&A. I'm Coach Steve, here to answer all your bodybuilding related questions. Today's question is from G's WJQ. Dear Coach Steve, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and taking your time to make videos for all of us to learn for free. Well, it's not exactly for free because I'm monetized, so I'm getting that sweet YouTube dollarinos. But I'm happy that you're enjoying the content. Yes, please, can you talk about muscle maturity? I would like to know what the type of training, such as high volume, high intensity, heavy training, or diets can promote one to achieve greater muscular maturity. I notice a lot of seasoned bodybuilders have dense, grainy, and well-developed physiques. However, I also notice some younger competitors have achieved something similar. I would very much like to hear your opinion. Thank you very much, Coach Steve. Okay, so, well, muscle maturity usually comes with age. And that's why you see with older competitors that have been training for a lot longer, and the total volume and weight, time under tension, is significantly larger compared to younger competitors, right? Or younger bodybuilders. So it takes time. And you know, the longer you spend in the sport, the more your muscle maturity is going to develop. So the first 5 years, you might not see anything. You might look big, but it kind of looks like soft, like athletic muscle, you know, that you see at the sprinters or the pole vaulters or any other sports at the Olympics. It looks very nice and pleasing, but it doesn't have much muscle maturity. How would you describe this? Like muscle maturity, it looks grainy, dense, and hard. And what they have at the Olympics, it looks like juicy. It looks like juicy, flexible, pliable muscle. And that's usually something you have in the beginning. I prefer that look. I tried to replicate that look with my wife a lot. So when she was going to the stage, you know, she didn't really need muscle maturity. And even though she trained for a long time and super heavy weights, you know, we always try to aim for a look that was a little bit more like the Olympic, you know, like track and field or pole vaulters or sprinters, that juicy, athletic looking muscle. Yeah, and there's several ways to do that. You know, focusing a little bit more on high rep work, you know, getting lean, obviously, and staying away from the androgens. Because, you know, when you're a female competitor, you don't want to turn your body into a male body by taking androgens. So that's something you avoid. But when you're a man and you're taking androgens, that's the road you're going to go down to. So most of the track and field guys obviously don't use androgens because otherwise they'll be pulling hamstrings left and right. Ben Johnson. Oh, sorry. You know, with bodybuilding, that's something you definitely do want to acquire, you know, because the androgens eventually lead to muscle maturity. And the longer you stay on androgens, and the heavier you train, and the more time you train, and the more time and tension you have under your belt, the more developed your muscle is going to be and the more maturity you create. Now, when you're younger, you can kind of replicate this by taking more androgens and training a lot heavier. And you see that with some of the very strong young competitors, you know, they're 20, 25 years old, they move a mountain of weights, astronomical weights, you know, Ronnie Coleman weights, but they're 10 years younger. And on the flip side of that, because we don't know what their blood work looks like, they're probably, well, it's safe to say that they're on a decent amount of androgens, which contributes to the muscular maturity. Yeah? And then, of course, growth hormone creates the hyperplasia, so you get more density. It's, you know, the drugs and the time in the gym contributes. And if you don't have adequate time in the gym, taking more drugs is going to give you a more mature look. It might also take years off your life, as we've seen with some bodybuilders that died reasonably early. You know, there's a risk to reward ratio. That's why I prefer a guy like Dexter Jackson, who's got amazing muscular maturity. He's in his 50s, you know, around 50, but he never did anything crazy. He's been training in the gym, you know, heavy and smartly for years and years and years, and that's how he was able to acquire his muscular maturity. But it's mostly the time in the gym that took him to where he is, you know, and then not stopping and, you know, staying on top of the diet and that kind of stuff, and making sure you don't get injured. Because when you're out of the sport for 6 months, you're losing the ability to build muscular maturity. Yeah, so you want to make sure you stay injury-free. And as a young guy trying to replicate that look, it's usually done by more androgens. And I definitely don't think anybody should go in that direction, because a lot of androgens will obviously detract from your health, you know. And is that going to be really, really worth it? Plus, some guys are just genetic freaks, and they're going to respond very, very well to heavy training and a little bit of androgens, and they're going to develop muscular maturity a lot earlier in life than other people. Now, what I noticed for my muscular maturity is that it kind of developed after I was 30. And even though I took some androgens and stupid high train dosages, you know, in my younger years, it didn't really contribute much to the muscle maturity that I have now, because it's just a matter of time and age. And you know, I've been training heavier and heavier and heavier progressively over the years, focusing on time under tension, proper training technique. And even though the last 5-6 years I haven't really dabbled that much in heavy androgens or super high dosages, the muscle maturity came from continuing to train insane with heavy weight, focusing on time under tension, and you know, pushing past failure. And I think all those things contribute to muscle maturity, as well as the use of growth hormone, because, you know, the hyperplasia and the muscle density that you create from that, you know, obviously gives you that hard granite look. And as you get older, you can maintain that muscle density on pretty low dosages because it's already built, and you know, it just stays. As long as you train a decent, you know, decent intensity, decent weight, you don't need the androgens to, you know, keep it there, because it's already been built, it's already solidified, and the muscle maturity doesn't go away. So that's something you're going to have to earn with heavy weights, basically. Hope that helps. Hope that answers your question. If anybody else has a question, you can ask me on the Vigorous Q&A at the end of the month. And if you have a pressing question, I have a PPQ service or a private Facebook group where you can ask questions daily. Coaching and consultations are always available. You can see the details down below in the description field. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.